Hey everyone, welcome back to another weekly reading vlog. I feel like we haven't done one of these in a little while, so it's quite nice to be back in this situation. So this week we are going to be doing a readathon vlog for the DoTheThingAthon, which is run by lovely Ashley over at A Frolic Through Fiction. I will leave her channel linked around here. The whole premise of this readathon is to basically reach the goals, attain the goals, tick things off for the goals that you set yourself at the beginning of the year. This is definitely a perfect readathon for me. What are we going to be reading this week? So one of my goals at the beginning of the year was to basically read more of my books that I've had on my shelf for a really long time, and so I shared a video at the beginning of the year of 10 books that I wanted to read by the end of this year, and if I haven't read them then by the end of the year I will cut them from my shelves. And so one of those books is The Age of Miracles by Karen Thompson Walker. It's an apocalyptic type book wherein the world starts slowing down. So time starts getting longer, the days start stretching out and getting longer minute by minute, to the point where at the moment the days are like 48 hours long. And so there's this kind of crossover between people who want to try and stick to the sun time, and so sleep when it's dark and wake up when it's sunny, and then people who are just sticking to the 24-hour clock, and even though that may mean that they're waking up when it's dark or going out when it's dark and all that kind of stuff, they're sticking to that so that they can have some kind of rhythm in their life. And so it's really interesting so far. I don't know if I'm enjoying it as much as The Dreamers, but I am really enjoying it. I like the way she writes. So that's the first book. The second book that I want to read, and again I've already started it, is The Host by Stephanie Meyer. So this is a reread. Again, I made a video at the beginning of the year of lots of books that I wanted to reread this year, favourite books basically, so to see if I still love them. I'll leave that around here if you want to go and watch that, and this is one of those books. Again, I've probably read maybe a third of this one so far. I'm loving it so much. Like I didn't know if I was going to enjoy this one as much as I have done previously. It's one of my favourite books and I've reread it a number of times, but I think probably the last time I reread it was maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, and I'm still really enjoying it. Although what's interesting me is the fact that actually I'm appreciating different relationships in this book now. Rather than being all out in love with the main character and her love interest, I'm much more appreciating the relationships that she has with other people, not just the man. So yeah, really enjoying that one so far. But essentially, if you don't know, this one is a book about a kind of alien race that comes to planet Earth and takes over people's bodies, and essentially they insert themselves into the back of humans' necks, and then they push out the consciousness of the human. But our main character Melanie, she gets one of these things put in her, but she basically fights it. And so there are two consciousness, the alien, which is called Wanderer, and Melanie, both fighting to have control of the body, and slowly the alien comes round to thinking like Melanie. And yeah, it's a really beautiful book and I'm really enjoying it so far. So then the other books that I'm planning on reading this week, and one of the goals that I've kind of set myself, I didn't really mention it I don't think in my original goal video for this year, but it is something that I've been working towards, is to basically even out the amount of books that I'm reading and the authors that they're from. So what I mean by that is to have at least 50% of my books to be from Black, Indigenous or people of colour. And so I realised probably about a month or two into the year, when I've got this spreadsheet basically that I put all the information about the authors and everything to do with the book so that I can dig a little bit deeper into the statistics of my reading. And I realised that my reading, and this, I'm actually ashamed of myself to even say this, but basically the white authors were at like 88% and it was only 12% for BIPOC authors. And so I've been working away to try and even that out so that I can get it to be 50-50. So far I've managed to get that to 33% BIPOC authors, and so my aim this week is to listen to audiobooks that are all by people of colour. And the first one that I've been listening to, and I'm probably going to be finishing this one today actually, it's really beautiful. I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying listening to it. And it's Their Eyes Are Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. definitely can't see that, but I'll put a picture up here so you can see which book I'm meaning. It's gorgeous so far. We follow the story of Janie. It's basically like her life, and we've kind of gone from when she was a child and we're following her through, and it's been really, really sad in parts, but the imagery that the author uses is just, it's stunning. Like, it just really brings me to where she is. I feel like it's going to be a highly rated book from me. So when I finish listening to that one, I've then got another saved on Scribd, which I think I'm going to listen to next, which is Felix Ever After by Case and Calendar. That one looked really interesting to me. I'll put a little picture of it here so you can see which one it is. And also Kim Ji-young, Born 1982, because I've heard a lot of really good things about that one. That one's by Chu Nam-ju. I'm just really looking forward to this week, actually. I think it's going to be a really good end to the month. I'm going to stop blathering now, but I will catch up with you when I've read some more. See you later. Morning everyone, it's now Friday. This week has flown by and I have a lot of updates for you, so I'm going to jump straight into it. So, I finished reading The Age of Miracles. I thought it was okay. I gave it 3 stars. I didn't like it as much as her other book that I read recently. So what did I really like about this book? The concept of time was portrayed in a way that I really liked. So time in this kind of apocalyptic situation is getting longer. So the days are stretching by hours and hours and hours, literally up to like a 60-hour day and then 60 hours of night. I loved the research you must have done into what would actually happen to the planet and the ecosystem and everything that could potentially be affected by really extended periods of a lot of sun and really extended periods of a lot of night. The reason I knocked it down was just because I felt no connection to the characters at all, and there were a number of them, and there were a number of occasions where quite sad things happened, but it didn't even make me well up or anything like that. And I'm an easy crier, to be honest. I do cry a lot in books, but I just felt no emotional attachment to these characters. I felt quite removed from them. So yeah, I thought it was okay, but definitely recommend her other book, The Dreamers, a lot more. I also finished listening to Their Eyes Were Watching God. I really enjoyed that one. I gave it 4 stars. It was so atmospheric. There was a section of the book where the characters were like escaping from a hurricane and a big kind of storm, and as I was walking to work it was actually quite stormy. There was a lot of wind and rain. I was kind of being blown all around, and so it made the actual experience of listening to the book to be very intense, and I really connected with that part of the book. Not only does it look very deeply into racism, Janie, as the main character, is extremely feminist. The whole idea of a woman making her own way, doing what she wants to do, having real struggles with love and relationships, and just finding her way in the world. It was really beautiful. I would highly recommend that one. The next book that I finished was Kim Ji-young, Born 1982. I really enjoyed this one. I gave it 5 stars. I thought it was incredible. So this book was originally written in Korean. It's been translated. I listened to the audiobook and I would really, really recommend listening to the audiobook. So essentially we learn the story of Kim Ji-young's life, and at the very beginning of the book she is visiting a psychiatrist because her husband is very concerned about her. They've recently had a baby, and she keeps kind of switching between almost like different personas. Like he thinks potentially she might be possessed or something, because she will suddenly start talking like someone very different and not herself. So she goes to a psychiatrist, and the actual book is told through the perspective of the psychiatrist, and he is relaying her life to us through the information that he has gathered from her and the sessions that they've had together. It kind of builds this picture of her life, the misogyny, the struggles, everything that this poor woman has gone through, and not just her. It kind of goes back to her mother and her grandmother, and all of this small little building blocks of misogyny essentially that has led to her having this kind of mental break. So even though this book is in a Korean setting, I believe any woman could read this book and find parallels with the world that we've grown up in and the world that we know our mothers and grandmothers had grown up in. Now obviously things have progressively got better, but we're not 100% there, and we do still experience sexism in the workplace, maybe sexism from older family members and things like that, and that I think just made me feel so connected to this main character. There's a section of the book where she is pregnant in the workplace and the struggles that she's going through and the idea that she has had to make that decision to want to have a child and to basically like end her career. And that's something over the last year or so that I've been thinking a lot about. It's something that feels very real to me, and I felt very connected to the character in that part of the book because it's not easy for women, you know, there is this expectation, or there is this feeling, even if it isn't as strong from society, I guess, as much as it used to be. As a woman, I do believe you kind of grow up with this idea that you are the person that has to give up everything if you want to have a family. So yeah, absolutely love this book. 5 stars, would highly recommend. I am still reading The Host. I've got about a third of this one left. I think I'm hoping to read it over the next couple of evenings and I can update you tomorrow. I'm also listening to Felix Ever After. Not loving that one as much as I hoped I would, and I'm really surprised because actually the Goodreads reviews are all really, really positive. Like literally 99% of them are 4 and 5 star reviews, and I'm not getting that at all. So I'm hoping to finish that one today. So I will update you once I finish these last 2 books. So see you later. Bye. Hi everyone, it's now Saturday and I just thought I'd jump on here to close up the end of this vlog. And although the readathon goes on until Monday, I'm ending it here because I've actually got another week of reading plans happening next week, which I'm excited to show you next Sunday. You'll see my video. So let me just quickly wrap up what I finished reading. So Felix Ever After by Case and Calendar. Thought I was gonna be in with a winner there, but sadly not. So the premise of this book, essentially we follow Felix, who's a trans character, around 17 years old, and Felix is really struggling with his gender identity. I would say that that aspect of the book was the strongest element. It definitely was the bit that interested me the most, the kind of exploration into gender identity and what it means to different people. There were parts where Felix was going to kind of groups of kind of gender non-conforming, non-binary people and people that just weren't sure, who were all kind of coming together to discuss gender, and I found that really interesting. Unfortunately, the rest of the plot and characters that went around the story I just really didn't enjoy, and annoyingly I actually found Felix to be a really unlikable main character. Felix himself was incredibly self-centered and just downright mean to the people that were around him. Very quick to judge, very quick to suddenly go from like having a laugh, having a joke, to suddenly tearing someone's head off. And he did this quite a lot with his dad. And his dad, like, I get it, you know, if you are a trans person and the people that you love aren't immediately accepting of you, that must be a very difficult thing to experience. However, Felix's dad was very clearly trying very hard and had gone through all the surgery, paid for all the hospital visits and the injections and all of the things that were enabling Felix to have the transition in the first place. Yet he was so against his dad for a lot of the book, and I found that really bizarre and really opposing to the actions that his dad was actually showing Felix, because he clearly wanted Felix to be around more often and to spend more time with him, but then Felix just had it in his head that, oh, my dad can't accept the new me and all this, and I very much wasn't getting that from the father figure. All of the other characters, there was a love triangle, and the people that Felix goes to school with, they were all very like one-dimensional and just really didn't have a lot of substance to them. Everything basically just came right around to Felix. Whatever may have been happening over here or whatever struggles one of the other characters may have had, Felix somehow made it about him, and I found that really annoying to read through. There was a catfishing plot line along with like hackers and things like that, and it just really wasn't what I expected from this book, and so yeah, I felt a little bit disappointed by that one. However, I have been reading The Host still. I am still reading this one. I've got about 100 pages left, but I can tell you my feelings on this one anyway because I've read it before and it's a reread for me. It's going to be 5 stars again. This book, what really upsets me about this book is the fact that people will probably shy away from it because it's written by Stephanie Meyer, and they instantly see this and they think, oh, Twilight, no thank you, that's not my kind of thing. I won't like it, it will be like Twilight, and it's not at all. Honestly, it's like it's written by a different author. This book is so beautiful and so layered in what it explores. It looks so deeply into what it means to be human and the best and worst parts of humanity, and it's just, oh, literally, it breaks my heart every time. I've read this book many times now. It's probably one of my most read books, I'm not gonna lie, and every single time it still gets me, and it's still like, it amazes me that this is written by the same author as Twilight. It just, like, how did that even happen? And so yeah, I adore this book, and I know that I've recommended it many times over the years on my channel, and the people who have gone and read it have come back to me to say, yeah, I really enjoyed it too, and that surprised me. And so do take my word for it. I'm not bigging it up for any other reason than this is a fantastic book. So yes, I'm gonna finish reading this one later today. And that is the end of this reading vlog. I hope you've all really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone else's reading vlog for this week. Mine will be going up a day early because I'm like ahead of the game here. Big thanks to Ashley for running the readathon. I think it was a really good idea. I hope she does it again in the future. So yeah, everything I've mentioned in this video will be down below. I hope you're all having a lovely day, and I'll see you soon. Bye!